Welcome everybody to codezing.org. We're going to do a level 1 project today called Printer. You can find it at codezing.org/printer. So let's head over to the site and check it out. This is what it looks like. But if you go to the main website, codezing.org, level 1, and you can find Printer in there somewhere. So what we're going to do is work on printing things to the console. It's kind of a basic thing, but it's something you really need to make the games interactive. It's a way of seeing what the computer is doing, printing out instructions to users, and providing feedback while the people are playing your game. So let's look at the example here. So if we input a number, I think we can do all of this. Let's see, Bob. And then 2001, let's see what we get back. So it says, hello Bob, thank you for using codezing, have fun. Look, I converted your number to a currency format. So I took the number I put in and converted it, put in the $ and the comma. And then it also took in the month, day, and year I input and turned it into a full date, Monday, January 1st, 2001. So to see how it works in Python, you can go down to the bottom and get the code. If you click on the button, it'll pop it open for you. You just copy and paste this into Spider. So let's see, let's run it. See what it does in the Spider version here. So enter your name, Bob. Hello Bob, thank you for using codezing. Have fun. Let's print a number, Bob. Enter a number. So put in a number. Look, I converted your number to a currency format. Let's print a date, Bob. Month, day, year. Excuse me. Yep, and it made the date. Thank you for using my program. So that's what it does when you run it. And it's a little simple. It's not really a game, but it's just to teach you about the printing and this dot format business. We'll slide this over so we can see the whole thing. At the top we have an import. We're importing the datetime library, which just is a very robust way of working with dates, which can be very tricky, right? You got leap years, you want to calculate the difference between two dates, you want to project a date into the future. All that stuff is within the datetime library, and if you want to research it up, you can just Google search Python datetime and you'll find it, the documentation at python.org. So let's dig into the code below the import. So we're going to assign the variable name to what we get back for enter name. So you can see at the top it says enter name, and I entered Bob. And then now name, this variable, is going to be equal to Bob, which is what the user input. So you can see here we've used that variable a few times, and what it's doing in the first line, it says hello, and then you have these curly brackets. Thank you for using codezing, have fun. And you can see that in these curly brackets is where it put Bob. So hello Bob, thank you for using codezing. So it took the variable name, which we've identified over here, and put it in the curly braces. So that's what this dot format piece does at the end, dot format. So anytime you put in these curly braces, it'll just click through. This only has one variable, but you can put multiple variables, and it will it'll put them in one after the other. So if you had hello Bob, thank you, right? Bob for using codezing, Bob. And you can tell it. You don't have to put a variable. You can put in the text. So if we run it like that, what it's going to do, as you can see, thank you Bob, or hello Bob, thank you Joe for using codezing Smith. Right, it's taking each one of these variables. The first one, they're separated by a comma. It took a variable name, and then for this one it took the text that I put in here, the string, and then the last one it put in the string also, but you could, you could put in numbers if you want, and it will handle those just fine too. Oops, let's stop that and rerun it because it was in the middle of the code. Enter name Bob. You can see hello Bob, thank you Joe for using codezing 1239876. Right, so that's what this dot format does, and it's kind of the preferred way in Python to drop variables in a text string when you want to print it out. So you put in the curly braces, and then dot format, and then within dot format you want to put in the items that you are looking to print out. Let's move on. So that's name. It's just taking the input, it's taking a string and dropping it into another string and printing it out to the console. Down here we have let's print a number, and you can see it's going to use name again, which is Bob, and it's going to, so if I put that in, it says, look, let's print a number, Bob, and that's this. Let's print a number, and then it's looking for name, and this is different, right? This one is dot format. This one is just a comma, and then the variable, which you can also do. So let's print a number, comma, and then the variable that you want to put in. You can also continue if you put comma, I like your name. Right? So you can put in more, and then you can even add like a number. And let's kill that version. Let's run it. In here. Stop. Alright, alright. If that ever happens, if you get like stuck, you can hit stop until it tries to stop running the code. Or you can always go up here and do restart kernel. So restart kernel just kind of clears out all of the data. If you really get stuck, it's kind of like rebooting your computer or something. You're rebooting this kernel, which is the portion of the operating system that is running Python. So you can always do console restart kernel if you really just get stuck. There we go. So finally restarted. Now it's ready for another run. So let's run it. Enter the name Bob. Hello Bob. Thank you for using CodeSync. Have fun. Let's print a number Bob, which is here. Let's print a number Bob, right? And then I like your name. Put in there, and then it put in my number that I put there too. So separate those by commas if you want to print it out that way, as opposed to dot format. If you wanted to do dot format with this, you would just put in curly braces where I put in the variables. So let's say I wanted to do that. I like your name, and then curly braces, and then dot format, and we're going to do name, and once we do it, let's stop this guy and we'll rerun it again. So we're going to do Bob now. You can see it does the same thing. I like, let's print a number Bob, I like your name, and then the number. Right. So you can use commas or you can use brackets with the dot format. So different ways of printing. One of the nice things of dot format versus the comma method is, you'll see in this next part, you can actually embed within the curly braces the formatting that you want. So if we enter a number, that says, look, I converted your number to a currency format. And so that's exactly what this is. So the $sign is outside of the curly brackets, so it just prints a $sign. But then within the curly brackets, it's going to take that number I entered, and this colon, comma, puts in the commas. So let's see. So if I was to, just trying to kill this again so I can rerun it. Let's see, stop. Stop. Alright, fine. Aborted. So let's run that again. Enter our name, Bob, and a number, and let's put in a really long number. And you can see that it puts in all the commas for you, right? You don't have to specify, there's no special code, it's just every 3 digits. It's going to throw in the comma for you like it's supposed to. So very cool. And all of that is done with just this colon and comma, and we're using dot format again. And this int around number is just converting that from a string. So when you use this input, it's going to assign the variable number, but it's going to make it a string as a default. If you don't want it to be a string, if you want it to be a number or something else, you have to tell Python. One of the few times in Python you have to tell it how you want it to, what type of variable you want it to be. But with these inputs, you have to, if you don't want it to be a string, you have to tell Python. So we got that printed number return. All right, we saw all that happen, and then let's print a date. And this is again the comma format with the name. So let's print a date, Bob. And then we're going to enter a month, a day, and a year, and each of those are just the same input. And then it prints the text to the console. So we'll enter a month, January 1st, 2000. Why not? What does it do with that? So I put in January 1st, 2000, and it says I made a date, Saturday, January 1st, 2000. Thank you for using my program. Right, so we're down here, we entered that, and then what is this chunk down here doing? It says date return temp is the variable name, and that's going to equal this date time, which is we're calling the library that we imported, datetime.date. And then within datetime.date, we're going to do year, comma, month, comma, day. And that's going to make a datetime object in Python. And now it's a date that can be used to add days or subtract days, or you can play with all the datetime library functions for date. This one is just taking the datetime, converting it into a datetime object, and then this date return temp, right, which is what the variable we just made our datetime object. So date return temp dot this one strf time, and what this does is it takes the datetime object and converts it into the format you want. So this looks weird, but this is how you get the day of the week, the month of the year, the number with 2 digits, and the year with 4 digits is described by this. And we can get the full listing here. So let's do Python datetime format. You can see I already searched it up. That's how I found it out in the first place, was looking through the documentation. And if we go to docs.python, that's the Python Software Foundation, docs.python.org, and this is the datetime library. And if we scroll, I just happen to know it's at the bottom, but this is all the functionality in datetime. But if you go down here, this is the portion that tells you how to change the output. So if we wanted it to be different, like let's say we wanted it to be the 3-day abbreviation for the day instead of the full day, instead of capital A, we do small a. So let's go back and let's do small a, and then what is capital B here? Month as the locale's full name. Let's say we didn't want the full month, we want the abbreviation. We can do a small b. Small b. The small d here is day of month is a 0 padded, which means it does 0, 1, 0, 2. I think that's fine. And then year is capital Y is the 4-digit, but you could also do the 2-digit year with the small y. So let's change that. And then what else can you get? You can get the hour, the minute, the second. If when I created the datetime object, I only gave it year, month, and day, but you can give it minute, second, microsecond. You can add a lot of detailed information into the exact date. Even the time zone information can be encoded in there. And so you can see it's very robust in handling dates. But I just did a simple one. And now let's run it like this. We should be able to see now that it's going to come out slightly different. What do we do? Format %y requires year greater than 1900 on Windows. What did I do? Year. Oh, I put the year 200. Okay. Sorry. Just a little typo there. Threw an error. You should get used to it. If you get an error, don't get frustrated. It happens a lot. Just read through it, see what it says, and think, it requires the year to be greater than 1900. Well, that's weird. And then go back and look, and it'll even tell you what part of the code misfired, right? Line 20. So you can go down to line 20 and say, why did that break on me? Well, let's fire it off again, and this time, hopefully I won't mistype the date. 1/1/2000. There we go. All right, and so now it says I made a date sat jan 0100. So you can see by changing these % items here from capital to lowercase, I'm getting a different format for the output of the date. But let's just print date return temp. Let's just print that and see what then print. Let's see, type return temp. Just so I can show you a little more clearly what's going on there. So it seems a little strange. So you can see that after I entered the date, this is the basic format. So if you don't tell it to format it a different way, like we did here with this strf time function, it'll just give it like this, right? Year, month and day, I suppose. It might be, yeah, I would guess month and day. And then you can see that the type of object we hear is a datetime.date. So we've been working with variables a little bit, and you've seen ints and integers and floats and strings. There's another type of object called a datetime object. And so that's what we created here. By using datetime.date, putting in the year, month, and day, we've created a datetime object that now has all of the functionality that we've seen here. And it tells you a lot of how to use time zones, gives you a lot of examples of how to use the library, but it also will tell you how to do, like, to check, is it a weekday, is it the day of the week, to pull up a calendar, to put timestamps in your code. So there's lots of cool stuff in the datetime library, and I use it quite a bit for my stuff. At the end, it just says, thank you for using my program. So sometimes you want to just print out a little feedback to the user, even just nice little comments. Hi, welcome to using my program, or, this program was written by Bob Smith, and I hope you have fun using it. So a little bit of more detail on print. We're going to use print a lot to display information to the console. So I thought I'd give a thorough run through of the different ways to print and what's going on, as well as date time, because that's important. So have fun. If you have any questions, you can email info@codezing.org. You can post a comment to the video. If you come up with more different stuff to add to this one, different ways to print out, because there's more ways to print out information. If you have other examples that you want me to add, you can email those, info@codezing.org as well. So have fun with this one, and we'll see you later.